Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be following the Burnley and Trowbridge sew-along to create my shift pattern. I'll include a link to the tutorial as well as links to any other materials that I used. The first thing I need to do is take my measurements. So I'm going to be doing 5 measurements. The first one will be from shoulder to hem. That's going to determine how long my shift is. The next one is going to be from shoulder to shoulder across the back. So that's going to determine how wide the shift is at the top end. The next one is going to be the bust measurement. So that's going to be right around where you wear your bra, and that's going to determine how wide at the bust the shift is. The next one is going to be the sleeve length. So that's going to be how long the sleeve is. Of course, that can vary, but because I'm doing an Italian gown, I want it to come to right above my elbow. Then the last measurement will be the width of the arm. So basically, I need to give myself enough room to move my arms around. So let's go do it. The next thing I need to do is use my measurements to figure out the best layout to cut my pattern pieces. So this is roughly what the shift is going to look like. Here is the body, and then here's the sleeves, the gussets, which go underneath the arms, and the, shoot, what are these called? They're not called gussets. They're called gores. The gores to make the skirt fuller, and then eventually this would be cut out so that your head can go through here. So basically, if I was going to cut this out of a piece of fabric like this, there would be all kinds of waste. And so in order to not waste fabric, we need to do some fancy geometry stuff and shift these around so that when you're cutting, you're not going to end up with any waste. Okay, so here's where things get a little crazy. The tutorial recommends for someone my height to use 2.5 yards of fabric, but I really liked how much they were talking about economizing your fabric by maximizing your cutting layout and all of that fancy stuff. So I'm gonna try to be even more economical and do my shift in 1.5 yards. Yeah, you heard me right, 1.5 yards. We'll see how I can do that or how I can fail miserably, but I think I have a plan. Well, this is a little bit harder than expected. I have watched the tutorial maybe about 5 times now, pausing, rewinding, restarting, and I cannot for the life of me figure out how to lay my pattern pieces out. I don't know if you can see if this is going to come out, but I have been erasing, redrawing, erasing, frantically scratching things out so many times, I can't even count. So I think what I'm going to do at this point is watch the next part of the video tutorial that's a separate video, and maybe I'll understand a little bit better how they're using these pattern pieces and see if I can get something put together. All right, I think I understand what they're doing in the tutorial and what I need to do to come up with my design. Now, the first thing that I need to do is figure out how wide my fabric is going to be, because in the tutorial, they assume 30 inches wide, but if I use that same 30 inches, I'm not going to be able to cut it down to 1.5 yards like I want to do. So I need to figure out what fabric I'm buying. Now to do this, I went out to the Burnley and Trowbridge website. The fabric that I'm going to use is their lighter weight linen, and I chose this fabric over the medium weight linen because I am not going to be wearing this garment to any events where I'm going to be wearing it all day in the heat, where I'm going to be sweating a lot, and I just want as little bulk as possible underneath my gown. Now, that lightweight linen is 56 inches wide, and I thought if I fold that over on itself, then that leaves me with half of 56 inches for the width of my fabric. Now, usually what you would do is you would kind of fold, I guess, hamburger style from the top down on a length of fabric, and that would be how you would lay your pattern out. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna fold it hot dog style from the side, so that then all I have to do is figure out how many total inches in length I need. And I think by doing that, I'm gonna be able to use less fabric. But one thing that I need to take into account is how much fabric is going to shrink. So always in a sewing project, you want to pre-wash your fabric before doing anything to it. And it's the same here, especially because this linen is going to shrink a lot. Linen shrinks more than cotton, and especially this is an undergarment. You're going to want to be washing it on high heat as they would have done back in the 18th century. That's gonna allow us to clean out all the body oils and everything that's gonna build up, right? This is a garment that's protecting our outer layers of clothing from our skin and from all that oil and sweat and all of that. And so we need to be able to wash it on high heat, which means that it's gonna shrink more. Now, I tried to figure out how much percentage-wise the fabric was going to shrink. So I did a little bit of Googling, and the best that I could come up with on websites was saying about 4 to 5% shrinkage. But that was also on websites that recommended washing on cold, gentle cycle, and that's not how I'm going to be treating this garment. So I took a stab, basically a stab in the dark, and I'm going to assume 10% shrinkage of my fabric. So again, I started with that 56 inches wide, and roughly, 10% shrinkage, I'm gonna be at 50 inches, okay? Then I'm folding it hot dog style, and so I'm gonna take half of 50, which is 25. So 25 inches wide is what I have to work with. So this is what I've come up with. I have my fabric here, which is going to be 25 inches across, and it's 2 layers, right? So it's folded along one of these edges. So we have 2 layers going on. Now I have my body and then 2 gores. So the top is my shoulder measurement of 14 inches. And then the length is my measurement from shoulder to hem, which was 38 inches. And then you basically just go to the halfway point and go up to where your shoulder ends, and that's what turns into your 2 gores. This part was relatively easy. There's not going to be any waste. The only part that I'm a little concerned about is the way that I'm folding this fabric to get to my 25 inches. Because I'm folding it on the side, it's not going to be folded at the top. And typically it would be folded at the top so that you'd have like this nice area to just cut out the middle from to make your neck hole. So I'm going to have to probably stitch it together at the top on the body piece. Now this one was much more difficult to figure out. I still have my width here, 25 inches, right? And everything is doubled. Once again, we have it folded on one edge. I started by choosing the part that I knew was going to be the longest. So we have 2 reinforcements that kind of go around your shoulders and then also on the top of the shoulder, just to reinforce the fabric and make it stronger so that when you wear this garment, it'll last longer. So the first reinforcement one up at the top, 24 inches. We're almost out of fabric. The next largest piece is going to be my sleeve because it's 16 inches to give me enough width around my arm so that it's not too tight, and then 9 inches long. Then next, I have my second reinforcement piece, which is 7 inches roughly. So that will probably change once I actually sew it on, but you want to give yourself more rather than less to work with. And then finally, my gusset. 4-inch gusset as compared to the tutorial recommends a 5-inch gusset, but I'm a bit smaller than the person who was doing the tutorial, so I'm hoping that the 4 inches works. And that's it. All the rest of this down here won't be cut. And then the only waste that I have is this section right here. And all in all, we are at 1.5 yards of fabric. Yeah. Thank you so much for watching this video. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more videos of my sewing journey. See you next time.